Well, good afternoon. This is Blue Laker. We're at Radio Kino. I know, does that sound like right? No, okay. Let's make it Radio Tribune. Here in Las Vegas at 717 South 9th Street. That's at the corner of 9th and Charleston. And we're here today to talk about a couple of different things. One of those things is how we managed to lose all our manufacturing to Mexico. You know, it really boils down to a couple of things. Number one, money. And then number two, what do you do about it to change the current status quo? That is to say, can you blame people, any people, where in their country they're making $1.62 an hour, $1.62 an hour, as compared to a minimum wage in this country, of $8.25. Well, how can that be? Well, one often wonders how that can be. But that's the paradox that we have today. You see, we'd like to keep the jobs here in the United States. We'd like to have the manufacturing. But at the same time, we don't want to pay the extreme costs that are involved with labor. On the other hand, we don't want the liability that comes along with hiring people from a different country who have no legal status here in the United States. They're not citizens, but they're taking the jobs of citizens. Okay, so on the one hand, you have people taking jobs of others. On the other hand, you have companies that cannot afford to pay the American worker. So is there a happy medium? Is there a happy medium? But I want to go further with this conversation because I think it's important. In Mexico, someone working for GM or Ford can make as much as $75,000 a year. Well, you would think that that's a tremendous sum. Well, it's not a tremendous sum in this country. It's above average, but it's not a tremendous sum. As a matter of fact, when you boil it down to what it is per day, in Mexico, the person performing the same job over there that he would have over here, his pay is $75 a day, and his American counterpart is $318 a day. How do you bridge the divide? How do you bridge the divide? Do we make all of our jobs technical, scientific jobs here in the United States? Do we continue to raise the level? And we wonder why some people can't go to work. They can't go to work because there's no job, because other people are taking the jobs. Not necessarily because they're enthralled about working with a particular company, or some of the conditions that might be there as a result of that, but because they need to eat. Oh, they need to eat. Well, if you're going to raise the family, you better have some way of providing for their enrichment, whether it happens in the way of food, education, or housing. Those are necessities if you are to raise a family. And one thing we can say about some of our nearby countries is that most of them are very, very family-oriented. Now, is that out of need or desperation, out of conservation or love? It doesn't matter, because I can remember a day here in this country when family meant a lot. We used to get together after church on Sunday, have picnics and breakfast, and family get-togethers, dancing, entertainment, and we knew our neighbors. We knew just about everybody that lived within a couple of miles of where we lived. That's not the case today. As a matter of fact, we are afraid of the neighbors next door, and with good reason. Because along with the fact that people are entering this country illegally, they're also bringing some of their products with them, like drugs. And drugs are a menace to all societies. As a matter of fact, the open situation here in the United States is getting so far out of hand, it's almost turned into a pandemic. And it could. But is it any worse than ISIS or some of the other blatant attacks that we've had here? Well, before we get too far off track, I just wanted to point out again that we're looking for solutions. And if you happen to have a solution, I don't, and with all my thoughts and flimsy education, I still can't come up with a decent answer to the wage disparity between these two countries, neighboring countries. And if you look to Cuba on the other side of the ocean, you see the same thing. Wage disparity. Prices held back. People struggling to exist. And you can't blame people for wanting to do more than exist. To work, and not to be able to support their families or have a decent life. You can't blame them. On the other hand, what are we to do? And how have other countries handled it? And why don't they have the same problem? You take countries like Germany and France. I'm not saying they don't have protesters against government policies, and especially when it comes to immigration or illegal immigration, because they've come to the realization that they can't really afford to do that, that they have enough problems supporting their own populations, let alone take on the responsibilities of another nation or two. And when we look at the war in the Middle East, and I say war, but we don't have a declared war. Well, if we don't have a declared war, what are we doing here, number one? Number two, why isn't it a declared war? And I guess probably the most important part is, what have we got to gain by sending our troops, committing our time, our money, and their lives to atrocities of beheading at the hand of the enemy? What do we gain? Goodwill? We just sent $81 billion into Afghanistan to, quote unquote, win the war in Afghanistan. Yet, nobody yet has been successful in that venture, even though there have been many nations who have tried to take Afghanistan apart. Are we going to be the ones that are successful? And I ask you, what is the end result in that respect? What do we gain? What is our end game? Are we there to take over what they have, the humble belongings? Do you realize that what we've done in those countries, and it's not just Afghanistan, it's Iraq, it's Syria, it's Libya, all of those countries that we've gone in and destroyed, literally destroyed towns, villages, and populations. What's the end game here? Well, we know what it is with ISIS. Death to the infidel. That's their game. That's their plan. I don't think it can't happen. I was interrupted yesterday because my buddy said to me, he said, "Hey, you see this?" And I said, "What?" And he had his iPad out, and he was showing me the scene of a ship out on the ocean that was engulfed by a tsunami. And the caption was, "Russia attacks Finland vessel. That's what it was, a vessel from Finland, supposedly. And they showed this tremendous wave striking the ship, capsizing it, and of course, then have it vanish entirely from the scene. What happened? What happened, pretty simply, was this. It was fake news. But when you saw it, when you saw the ship, and you saw the waves, and those waves encompassed the ship, and then the captions that went along with it, although the number of casualties has not been tallied at this point, that was a huge number of casualties involved. And so about that time, it was around 5 o'clock, and we're thinking, okay, it's got to be on the major news networks, right? Well, we went to Fox News, and we went to all the other channels that had news on at the time, and nothing was there. So I guess the point is that somehow someone was clever enough to get online and distribute this misinformation to literally millions of people. Now, how could that take place? How could it take place where this kind of information is posted on our national channels for everyone to see? Do you imagine what kind of hysterical thoughts went through people's minds that here was supposedly a Russian destruction, a missile attack on a vessel sitting in the middle of the ocean from Finland. And I gotta admit, it was pretty realistic. With the waves and everything, they were hitting all the ship and around it, and surrounding it. And it really looked like a huge, tremendous wave to me. And then, of course, the ship disappeared. Well, I guess you can do anything with technology. But to put the thought of something like that happening into the minds of other people who look and see in disbelief of potentially what can happen. But the thought remains this, even though that was, again, fake news, the reality of the situation is that something that could happen is not, it's not out of the way. And it was pretty clever because what they did, at least in this pictorial, was they had the bomb not hit the ship, but explode in back of it some distance. How far? I can't tell you. But it looked realistic because what happened was it basically sent a plume into the sky, very much like a nuclear attack, and this huge tsunami wave started to form and knocked out the ship. Well, it may not have been true, but it certainly was clever, because it had me fooled for a while, and I said, well, no, it can't be, and the Russians couldn't have done that, and wouldn't have done that. And so it turned out that that was the correct answer, that there really wasn't anything that happened, but it's not beyond, it is definitely not beyond the scope of probability. And I can understand how potentially that could work. Because if you create a deep enough explosion in the ocean, you can create your own tsunami and do exactly what they did there. At the cost of an aircraft carrier group or whatever, completely destroy them in a single blow. Can't say it can't happen, can you? Do you know that it won't? My buddy was saying, well, what do we do now? And I said, well, I don't know. Let's see it on the news first. And of course, it didn't show. But we have to prepare for the ones that are going to be trapped. We're the ones that are going to pay the price. So if that's what we want to do, then I guess it's okay. But for me, I think we need to try to understand the complex matter that we have between two countries right now, Mexico and the United States, where the wage disparity is so great that we cannot blame them for trying to get to a safer haven. Yeah, a safer haven. And what can we do about it? What are we to do about it? Because if we let it stay the way it is, with open borders just everywhere, we will have more of the same. And sooner or later, those people that are working in this country are going to find themselves displaced and at the mercy of other people from other countries. So I would say to you this: if you have an answer to some of these problems and solutions, call us. We're at 702-984-6843. That's Radio Tribune in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the physical address is 717 South 9th Street, which is the corner of 9th. That's right, the corner of 9th and Charleston. So we're close. You're welcome to stop by. You're welcome to submit your ideas and to confront some of these problems yourself. At the same time, if you want to get some really concise information, go to the Las Vegas Tribune. We have a weekly publication that we publish. It comes out once a week with valuable information that you will not find, for the most part, in other publications, other newspaper print publications. But we do have it here, and it's very convenient. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to worry about having recyclable paper to throw away, put in the garbage. It's pretty neat. It gives plenty of opportunity to people who would like to advertise and promote their own product. At the same time, providing you with information you just won't get any other place. So today, this is Blue Laker, and the name of my show is Cobra USA, which deals with insurance, which is another problem that we have here in the United States. The solution that we're going to have is yet to be seen, because it looks like the second GOP program to cover Medicare and to do away with Obamacare is going to fail in the U.S. Senate. And they're looking for a third alternative. They're working on other means to make that happen. Those means, right at their disposal, right at their fingertips if they want, it's there. But if they don't pick it up, we could struggle on with this for years and years and years to come. And there's major problems with it, including the expansion of Medicaid, not Medicare, in the state of Nevada, where 200,000 people have been added to the list at, guess what? Our cost.
How you doing, Lou?
Come on, John.
That's good news.
Haven't seen you in a while.